Alright guys, I just want to talk to you right now about a sign in the heavens that was revealed to me only just recently. Of course we all know about this, people who study and know about Bible prophecy know about the Revelation 12 sign. So back in 2016 you had Jupiter, the king planet, coming into Virgo. In late 2016, okay, into the constellation. This was the impregnation sign of Revelation 12 sign being fulfilled. And interestingly enough, the United Nations tried to say that in that December, that was 2016, and the United Nations tried to say that the Jews didn't have any entitlement to the history of the Temple Mount. Also, Satan incarnated, Barack Obama. He left office, and this is the main reason why. And so it was Virgo, the Virgin, the sign in the heavens, the woman, was impregnated on December 2016, and he stayed there, the king planet, for 9 months until the Revelation 12 sign was complete. So the woman, Virgo, was clothed with the sun on her shoulder and the moon under her feet. Which it was on the Rosh Hashanah, which is actually Jesus' proper birthday. So Revelation 12 sign has revealed that Rosh Hashanah is Jesus' true birthday, not Christmas, in case you thought Christmas was. But in case you don't even know, Rosh Hashanah is his true birthday, and it's laid out for you in Revelation 12. So September 23rd, 2017, Rosh Hashanah, the sign was complete. The woman Virgo, clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and then upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Now here's the bit, because there was 9 stars of Leo, and then the 3 movable stars, planets, whatever you want to call them, came in to make the sign complete. I believe it was probably Venus, because that's closest to the sun, Mercury, Mars, I believe it was. And so it made up that crown of 12 stars. And you can fast forward in time. I fast forwarded 30 years, 50 years, backwards even. And you cannot get an actual day where the sun clothes Virgo, the Virgin. Basically, you can't get another day where that sign is complete to the absolute word, like 12 stars. So this was a sign being complete, and then obviously the birth took place. And then there was me thinking it would be like exactly like the first coming, it would be like the second coming. So when the man-child was born, you see, Herod, the Satan of the first coming, tried to kill off the man-child. And he went to kill off all kids, if you remember, that were 2 years and under. So that's like 3 years. So I thought it would be the same, because the scripture says another sign was seen in heaven, and a great red dragon, and he stood before the woman who was very ready to deliver the child, to devour the child as soon as it was born. All right. And this is why Barack Obama's been, or the spirit that has incarnated the spirit that has possessed Barack Obama, Satan incarnated, for the end of the age. So when the end years come, Satan will actually be incarnated as Barack Obama, who is actually a clone of Pharaoh Akhenaten. In fact, the whole family are clones. As crazy as that might sound to you, but cloning is nothing new. You just think that the government, the main head world leaders, would not be clones, but you know, all of Hollywood is full of clones as well, though. So it's no great shake there. But anyway, it says he stands before the woman to devour the child as soon as it was born. Now he's been away for, it would have been 5 years this Rosh Hashanah, and I've always prayed, like, why is it taking so long? Shouldn't Satan have attacked the man-child like 3 years most, like in the first coming? 2-year man-child, 3 years at least, for that event to go on, because when Satan tries to attack the man-child in the heavens, he's actually going to get thrown down to earth. So then you'll know, because Satan will actually incarnate Barack Obama fully, all right, until the very end. So I was like, why is it taking so long? And it's like, it was 2 years, it's supposed to be 2 or 3 years, and now we're going on for 5 years. And I think this revelation about Jupiter now is maybe the answer to it all, because I just looked recently and followed the path of Jupiter. And Jupiter, the king, we've seen some stuff recently actually where Jupiter was being at its biggest and brightest. So that was another sign for us that Jupiter is like closer to Earth than it has been for a long time. And remember, Jupiter being the sign of the King Jesus, like. And so anyway, so this Jupiter, anyway, the king planet, actually comes back around, and he comes and he starts to enter into Virgo at the end of 2018, and then is properly in Virgo, if you like, 29. And so interesting as well, because I made another video concerning Vesta, my star Vesta, which is sort of maps out my life, and it has, and it still is. And Vesta, how it makes some loops, and it's very rogue planet. It's not like it's got any pattern to it. And one of the loops that it made was like 7 years from now, it would make well, 7 years since I made the revelation anyway, but it makes a loop in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is a sign of the Antichrist, like. Because it's the rider on the horse and he has a bow, exactly like Revelation Revelation 6 says, when it talks about seal number 1, talks about the rider on the horse and he has a bow and he comes out to conquer the world, at least for the last 3.5 years before Jesus Christ returns on a horse. But he has a two-edged sword, and it's a lot different. And in fact, seal number 1 is one of the 4 beasts. So there's 4 beasts, which are 4 kings, which shall come which are already on the earth, and they will shape the end of the age, actually. Yeah, but anyway, Sagittarius being a sign of the Antichrist, and so my star makes a loop around him, and it actually happens in Passover plus 45 days in 2029. So I thought, 7 year guys, kind of sounds like my mission comes to an end with the Antichrist. I mean, the book of Revelation says that the Antichrist will kill the 2 witnesses in Jerusalem anyway, and I've always thought that'd be around Passover time, because the 2 witnesses, they preach for 3.5 years like Jesus did. They bring plagues like Moses and Elijah to confirm them, but then they're killed in Jerusalem like Jesus was. They're risen from the dead by the power of God after 3.5 days like Jesus was, and they ascend on a cloud into the heavens like Jesus did. So everything about it clarifies, and in Acts 1 it says that they would return in like manner. It's exactly the same thing, like 45 days since the day that they're killed, ascending, Jesus ascended on a cloud. So I believe it means that he will descend on a cloud like 45 days after Passover, which all links to Passover as a reference point. So I just take Passover as a reference point. So that video I made anyway, it was Vesta star making a loop around Sagittarius between me and the Antichrist, like at that Passover of 2029. All right, but getting back to the Virgo and the Jupiter thing, is that Jupiter comes in late 2028, and he comes in and he comes into Virgo, makes a loop round and settles, and it's around Passover time. So, you know, and which is approximately 12 years after the sign happened. I mean, the sign was impregnated in December 2016, and Jupiter again will come in to Virgo in December 2028. So yeah, that's exactly 12 years. But the Passover time, you see, being that impregnation time of it all being complete. So if you think about it, 12 years from the birth to the completion, let's say. Because let's say this, all right, in basic terms, Jesus Christ is represented by Jupiter. He was in that birth sign, which you cannot deny. You cannot deny. I mean, he came in 9 months, impregnated Virgo, and then it was there for the birth, which doesn't happen anywhere in human history. And you all know it. I mean, you can deny it and say, well, that was 5 years ago and nothing's happened. Nothing's happened. Everyone doesn't seem to realize that this is like a storybook, and what people, every little thing that you say, people are expecting rapture. And even though you've made specific teachings about rapture and, you know, it happens on a full moon and everything else, they still like, like 12 years, let's say, from the birth to this, where Jupiter comes back, and Virgo represents Israel. Israel, or Mary, was descendant of Israel, obviously, from and, you know, Joseph was the descendant of Judah, and actually rightful king to the throne of David, which is in London right now, but he was actually the rightful heir, and Jesus Christ, being his firstborn, was the rightful heir to sit on the throne of David. But it wasn't even there. It was in, it was either in Ireland, Scotland, or England during that time. Yeah, so the Israel, Virgo represents Israel. All right, so Israel will give birth to the man-child, because it says when the dragon's thrown down, he goes off to make war with the woman. Israel, who brought forward the man-child. So yeah, it says that Virgo, is representing Israel. So if you take that sign as a sort of as a basic sign, is that the king returns to Israel, Virgo, by 2029. Now, if you could say this as being the Armageddon sign, where Jesus, not a rapture sign, but Armageddon sign, where it actually comes down physically to rule the world 1,000 years from Israel. You know, we're not talking about the first passing at Seal 7, and we're not talking about the second and last passing at Trumpet 7. After the 2 witnesses, but it's very close to that second passing, actually, because that comes right at the very end. But if we're saying that this sign in the heavens means Jesus, Jupiter, returns to Virgo, Israel, all right, in 2029, that could be the end of the tribulation, the end of actually mortal humanity, because the risen begotten Son, the first begotten Son, Jesus Christ, will rule the world 1,000 years, obviously in a glorified heavenly body, and all the dead and all the people that were raptured, and the 144,000 when we're caught up, and that during the second passing, by the way, we're all going to rule the world also for 1,000 years, be kings and priests unto God. And so if we look at it as a timescale thing, if we say that Armageddon's going to happen just after Passover of 2029, which is 12 years after the birth sign, so then we get to now, which is like, okay, that's pretty much nearly 7 years, or just less than 7 years. So we're basically living in the time of the 7-year agreement being made. But even though the time will be cut short, and it's going to be the first 3.5 years that are going to be cut short, because the last 3.5 years are all set in stone. There's loads of prophecy about the last 3.5 years, but very little prophecy about the timings of anything that happens in the first 3.5 years. In fact, the trumpets last for the things that are spoke of in timing wise. Two of the trumpets, 5 and 6, last for 1.5 years. The locusts that come out of Yellowstone, and nuclear war lasting for 13 months. And also another time scale that's spoke of before the last 3.5 years is that the Antichrist will plot against the Holy Covenant for 1 year, for a time. So the temple will be finished, 4.5 years before the end at least. Because he plots against the temple for a year, and then he comes in on the last 3.5 years, the Antichrist, and they overthrow Israel and rule the world from Israel. So that's timing wise. So we know the first 3.5 years of the tribulation are going to be cut short. And in fact, timing wise, if we take, actually it's easy to remember because I've did this maths before, but let's say December now, like December the 13th to be specific, but around that ballpark, it's going to be actually 2,300 days until Passover 2029, all right? So December 13th this year will be 2,300 days until Passover 2029. And the reason that you think, well, why does he know 2,300 days, is because there's a prophecy said that the temple will be clean after 2,300 days. So in God's eyes, for 2,300 days, by that prophecy, the Temple Mount will be dirty. For 2,300 days, which is actually 6 years and 3.5 months. So it's a long prophecy. Do you know what I mean? So anyone that's expecting the tribulation to last 3.5 years only, or 4 years, well, show me where the dirty temple happened 2 years ago, from 2 years before now. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't happen. The status quo has stayed the same on the Temple Mount for quite a long time. Even the 6-day war couldn't overthrow the temple because it wasn't God's time. But at some time in the near future, very near future, is that when that Temple Mount is going to change. I believe it's going to be a change of control, or a change of ownership, let's say. That's going to cause, in God's eyes, to see now it's dirty. Giving it to United Nations, giving it to NATO or whatever, I don't believe it would be that. I believe it would be more like United Nations taking control of it for security and safety purposes. So yeah, that's the 2300 day, and December 13th is 2300 days until Passover 2029. But if that prophecy anyway is talking about, because it says, because when I think about it, without really thinking about it too much, is that I believe the only way that that Temple Mount is going to be purely clean is when Jesus actually returns at Armageddon, which doesn't happen till 45 days after the second passing of the throne, which, like I said, if it happens on Passover, all right, then 45 days later is, 45 days later. So it'd be like second Passover plus 50, I don't know, 45 days after the second Passover, which then would bring us to a different date. Obviously, if we're looking from now, that would bring us to the end of January. It'll be these years. So it'll be next January, about the 28th, I think it is, something like that. So that would be 2,300 days from January the 26th or 8th, whatever it is. It'd be 2,300 days until Passover 2029 plus 45 equals Armageddon, if you know what I mean. So there's like two dates as well. I suppose you could have that as a window. So from around like December 13th until, around late January, as sort of 2 points which could concern the temple. I didn't want to go into this, but then you have then you have Hanukkah coming up on December, obviously. Which I believe is the 18th December until whatever it be, the 26th. So anyway, the point of this video would be like just to recognize that Jupiter the King, Jesus, is returning to Virgo, which was the sign of Israel in the heavens, and it's roughly going to be, so 2000, it's roughly going to be 6 years and 3.5 months from coming December. So so we could see the 7-year agreement happen anytime soon. And of course, when they make that agreement, it says sudden destruction comes upon them. They may even still be in Geneva making the agreement or celebrating the agreement, or the parties in the streets that, they're going to save the planet, or all this crap that they'll make it hype up. Like, they might even not even stop doing that before the throne of God hits at the 6th seal, like, and then it's all over for a lot of nations, like. And interestingly enough, all the earthly birth pain signs like earthquakes, volcanoes, sinkholes, weather, shit like that they tell you that is climate change, will actually increase as the throne is coming near. Do you know what I mean? Hit the earth, you'll believe there's a problem. They'll sign this agreement after the throne passes and destroys nations, but raptures the people, the great multitude. And then passes out again, you see, and it doesn't come back till the end of the tribulation. He doesn't come back until the two witnesses have finished preaching for 3.5 years. Which is between trumpets, judgment 6 and 7, which is after nuclear war. So there's a long time until he returns for his second and last passing. So yeah, but when you, like I said, when you see that 7-year agreement, that is like the beginning of the tribulation time, and we're living in the time now where it's so possible. I mean, we're in just past the Shemitah as well. There's a lot of other things, you know, like the Antichrist being 40 years old, because I've read somewhere and studied that they reckon that their Messiah would come to them after 40 years or so, and all the big hype. Obviously the Queen is dead, William's on the verge of becoming king. So, you know, it's all, we're definitely in the season. I'm ready. I'm finished my work pretty much, you know, all the media work I wanted to do to try and share to everyone across the world. So, I mean, it's all literally at the door. And I mean, so anyway, I feel like I've gone on a little bit and maybe not made a lot of sense, but I'll try and put in some images, and you know, you do your own little maths, and okay, I get what you mean. 2017, the sign Jupiter in Virgo doesn't happen again until 12 years from then. Which is 2029, but oh, we can look back now and see what, wow, it's just within 7 years that we're in now. So yeah, I understand we can be expecting to see that 7-year agreement happen at any time, of which the first 3.5 years can be cut short of the tribulation. And so yeah, so it's just another confirmation to see that, you know, it doesn't look like it's going to be like 7 years from now. See what I mean? Because I'm not asking, why is it taking so long? Why is it not taking 2 or 3 years? Why is it taking 5 years for the inheritance to pass over to Jesus Christ after he was born and concealed in the heavens? Why is it taking 2, 3, 5 years now? It's like, well, if it did happen 2 years after the birth, 3 years ago from now, then, you know, we'd only have 4 years, let's say, left of the tribulation, wouldn't it? And it wouldn't line up with the star sign of Jupiter returning to Virgo. Do you get me? Because it's a 12-year period between the birth and the return, and so the 7-year tribulation has got to fit in with the last 7 years of that 12-year Jupiter cycle. Do you get me? If that makes more sense. So I don't know, you just do your own research and you'll see what I mean anyway. But just another sign, 2029, as well as Vesta coming in for finishing off Sagittarius as well. So, you know, not that you needed it, but just a little revelation, so I thought I'd put it out there. God bless you all anyway. I've been Pastor Prophet Justin Roberts from End of the Age Bible Prophecy. God bless you all. Amen. Amen.